Hello, my name is Spencer Elliott, and I'll be speaking to the demographic of Otterbein University, where for 8 terms I taught a guitar class for non-guitar majors, including non-music majors and music majors. I recently moved to Boston, but I keep regular contact with my replacement and the other music faculty at Otterbein, and we've been discussing possible curricular directions of the class. So here we are. Otterbein is located in Westerville, Ohio, a suburb of north of Columbus in central Ohio. Westerville is one of the more affluent areas of Ohio and has seen consistent, steady growth for the past 10 to 15 years. This suburban setting sprung up around Otterbein. Otterbein dominated what was Westerville until the mid-20th century. Otterbein's religious heritage, by the way, was influential in making Westerville the center for prohibition, that lovely law, which lingered long past the law was repealed. Westerville was dry until, I'm not kidding, 2006. My guitar teacher and I shared a beer at the grand opening of the Old Bag of Nails pub a little while before I graduated. Anyway, I say all this as background to the scene in Westerville. Coffee shops and art galleries were the largest proponents of the local music scene until just recently, and still play an important part in what music young college students experience outside of class. Otterbein students are largely homogenous. 82% are white, according to the National Center for Education Statistics. The next largest ethnicity is black or African American at 8%, and then unknown ethnicity at 7%. With enrollment at around 3,000 students, 90% in-state and 80% under the age of 25, Otterbein is no beacon of diversity. However, Westerville, though largely white and affluent, is heavily invested in the arts and celebrates even its slightest diversities by investing in many art classes such as music lessons and painting studios, and hosting many events for artists to share their talents, such as uptown festivals and art shows. Thus, diversity is practically chic, and the arts scene reflects this. Anyway, mostly young white Ohioans. Finally, demographically speaking, Otterbein students they're largely full-time with a noticeable majority female population. This final factor may help determine a bit of the repertoire selection for a potential guitar class. While I was there, I had far fewer men than women in my classes, and if you'll notice this chart, which is a graphic produced by the online radio station Last FM, not entirely reliable, but a fair representation for our purposes at the inception of this project. Anyway, if you notice this chart, women and men prefer only slightly different genres and artists. To the left, the size of the artist names indicate how popular they are, while their position shows the gender mix and average age of the listeners. If my class were comprised of more young women, I might prefer a Lady Gaga example over the Red Hot Chili Peppers example. That is, of course, if I had my choice in explaining a musical concept illustrated by either artist. Anyway, to the right, the graph is set up the same, and you can clearly see a preference for rock, pop, and female vocalists among this demographic. Again, this class is taken by non-majors, mostly beginners. I've made contact with our music department secretary, Mrs. Brock, to see if I can get information on whether some non-majors show up more than others, like if more chemistry students take versus, I don't know, other majors. Chemistry came to mind. That might be useful information, but Mrs. Brock has not gotten back to me with the information yet. She's checking to see if such information is at the disposal of non-faculty, see if it's okay if I can have it. Anyway, from my experience, the class never got above 10, though my predecessor had as many as 12, and neither of us had fewer than 3 enrolled at any time. Largely acoustic guitars were used, maybe 1 electric and 8 quarters. And many students had borrowed their roommate's guitar, or just received a guitar as a gift, or inherited an old guitar. This is important because such second-hand instruments rarely play easily. I might want to avoid bar chords, for instance, or prefer songs that don't use C major chords in first position. To summarize, musical tastes of Otterbein students are largely impacted by the local music scene of Westerville. Popular music, especially by female artists, will likely be preferred, but songs that show up at local open mics and coffee shops might go over very well. Because many students live on campus, there are possibilities for group-forming activities outside of class. Also, because many of these students come from or currently reside in a more affluent community, I can probably have them purchase tuners, capos, and picks, and the like. This means I don't have to stress teaching relative tuning. They can use an electronic tuner. I don't need to stress bar chords. They can use a capo. And I can rest assured that my song selection doesn't need to cater to finger picking by necessity, which has happened, believe it or not. I welcome any comments, especially things I might have missed or not covered, but thanks for any input. Cheers!